All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Rakugo, Season 2, Episode 10.
We're getting closer to the end.
Yeah, this is almost over.
Mm-hmm.
Yakumo nearly died.
Last episode was a bit of a doozy.
The Shinigami was fully unveiled.
Yep.
We got to see not only Yakumo as where he's really at right now, as a full, I would say, true perspective on where his internal state is.
Right,
but
he's not doing well.
We also got to see Sukeroku essentially as the god of entertainment, as the right. Shinigami, as the
both the positive and the negative,
right? The avatar of all of his suffering and pain and
guilt,
misery and guilt,
everything.
And all of that.
Yep.
Yeah. So this this next chapter has to involve some aspect of communication with Konatsu and coming at least a little bit clean with her in regards to this, because
this is a point of no return. You can't backpedal out of this one. This needs to get resolved.
Yeah.
So,
and yet we do have 2 episodes after this one.
Yeah.
So yeah, now I'm really I'm really questioning what kind of point they're going to end this on, because there could be a season 3, and then it's just the question of like based on what happened at the end of season 1, what kind of dramatic finale do you give for what we've got so far in season 2?
Oh boy.
Yeah. So y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone. Now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, and then come back here for the discussion. Whoa.
Okay.
All right.
That was both incredibly positive and wholesome and wonderful and happy, and at the same time there were parts of it where I'm not sure, because so we didn't get Red Eye Sukeroku, but Yakumo went back to the land of the dead.
Yes, so it's more building up to the fact that he is going to die eventually, and it's sooner rather than later.
Yeah, well,
so this almost feels like he's definitely going to die before this season's over, and it's going to be a part of the way it ends, because he survived both of the things there, but he's also relenting on one of the past maybe regrets that he has, because when he was talking about all the things that he sees that he wished he had done slightly differently that is not Rakugo based, it was in the context of the fact that he was looking at, they were showing the eye that was blinded by this, or the burn mark that was there, or the bandage of the burn over the burn mark. And then when Konatsu asks him to be his apprentice, he quickly says yes. It's a thing of where he's happy to do it. And we think back to where we were at way in the beginning of season 1,
when he didn't even want her to do Rakugo.
He didn't even want her there looking at Rakugo. Yeah, this is a completely different place that we're in.
And it's tough, because on the one hand, there's a lot of reconciliation that happened this episode, and
quite a bit.
And the thing is that it didn't.
Some things left unsaid.
Right, there were a lot of things left unsaid, and there's because when I was watching the episode, there was a part of me that started to wonder: is this actually the episode where he dies? And when they focused on the cherry blossoms being blown and stuff like that, and his eyes being closed, there was one point where his eyes were closed, but then he cracked them open, and I was like, okay,
he's not dead yet.
Right, but then he showed up later in the land of the dead, and it's like, oh, you finally got here, right? Does that mean that he is dead now, or maybe if there's the path, he hasn't quite, he's super close, but he's not quite there.
Right. I think it's that he has to walk that path.
Right.
And once he reaches the end of it, he will die.
Right. And one of the things that I was wondering in this episode is that they don't necessarily ever have to tell Konatsu the truth. So
because it's brought up in this way, and he actually does say double suicide rather than it being.
Yeah, right. He had the opportunity to tell her what happened, but he didn't. And in a lot of ways, I wonder if, because they could take this with a few different angles of the idea of Konatsu deserves to know kind of a thing, or she can handle it now, or whatever. But then they could also take it the angle of Yakumo has suffered in order to keep this a secret this entire time, so make his suffering not have been in vain, essentially, and make it be something that she never has to know about, because she doesn't need to, like she's kind of come to terms with everything even, with her own perspective of what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So isn't that enough? Or maybe that means that now she's ready to actually learn what really happened. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think if anything, Yakumo understands that his time is almost up.
Yeah.
And thus he is going to start enjoying the present moments.
Yep.
With stuff like Shin-chan just having a fun time, tossing the pedals and quoting the Rakugo.
Yep.
Word for word. It's something that brings such joy to him.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that I could not help but just smile, the widest smile, just to see him enjoying life.
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen him do much more than kind of mock the ridiculously of life in the recent episodes. Mm-hmm. Like he hasn't ever really seemed to enjoy it.
And
it
I would
seems
say
like something he would just kind of go, huh, life,
Yeah.
Like not really being happy.
And with Konatsu saying, "Will you make me your apprentice?"
Mm-hmm.
The first thing that came to mind is and Yakumo, had a little quip that he threw back of, saying this while lying down. But I thought he was going to say, "You realize how old I am, right? Like I can't really apprentice you, and certainly not in the same way that I did for Yotaro."
Mm-hmm.
But I'm wondering if that her asking that and him accepting is basically the equivalent of saying, let's spend what time we have left together in happiness. Right.
Let's not.
Let's put the past behind us. And
other.
Exactly. Let's bury the hatchet and let's let's enjoy the final moments in the same way that you're enjoying watching Shin play.
Yeah, she might have just in some ways by showing gratitude for the fact that he raised her and brought her up as in some ways his own. That's a form of forgiveness. It's not the same type of erasing it from existence. There's still the pain,
but more acceptance and then moving forward.
Yeah, well, when you show gratitude for something, there is an aspect of, I would say, presentness that you find yourself in. You can't declare gratitude, I would say, and have it actually be gratitude without experiencing said gratitude.
Sure, actions speak louder than words.
Right, so in that moment, she basically separated herself from the past and basically said, I am grateful to you here right now for the past. She redeemed the past in her mind from being this thing of, you murdered them, to, I thank you for what you did.
Right.
And then, of course, she breaks down and hugs him, holds him, cries. She's still frustrated and angry and holding this incomprehensible emotion.
Right. She still asked him, why did you kill them? You know, because that fact hasn't changed in her mind. It's not like she now, for some reason, doesn't think that he killed them, right?
Right, of course.
That's still a truth to her. And yet, she's able to hold that in tandem with the fact that they care about each other and that he did raise her, right? In spite of everything, and that and the way that it was brought up of you should have just died with them. Well, yeah, but it's kind of hard to do that. I was too busy raising you, like the idea that even though they hated each other, or no. But in some ways there was probably some resentment of sorts or something from Yakumo to her, whether it started
whether
on
it
its
came
own
about quickly or slowly.
Exactly.
I would say if anything it probably came about much slower because of the fact that she was a reminder.
Right.
She was a reminder of that whole
and also
things.
Played her part in the cause,
I mean, and but I almost see like that has like very little to do with it.
Because she was a kid and everything. And, but the idea that lost my train of thought. That they both come to a level of acceptance and that they both helped each other, even if they didn't necessarily she helped him get through it, even though she didn't want to, right? And he lets her know that because she knows that he has wanted to die for a while, right? But the fact that she was basically, because he cared about her, that's what kept him here, right? and in a lot of cases that's what still keeps him here.
Oh, sure.
Because if he, without them, he probably would have gone by now.
Yeah. She's pregnant.
Yeah.
And not only is she pregnant, it's Yotaro's first biological child within their
family's getting bigger.
Their family. And he's so happy. He's so happy. And I love that she's like, your happiness is almost so overwhelming that I need to do the baka, stain my kimono. But it's like there's this bit where you can almost tell that like too much overwhelming happiness is something where
it scares her.
It scares her, right?
Yeah.
It's just so much there. But then she's, just really excited to be, a mom again with Yotaro. And it's just he's so excited and wonderful with this. But this episode seems to be basically the Konatsu Yakumo episode, though. There's a lot of things that they bring up with Hisan just kind of preparing all of these new bits of Rakugo, and Yotaro's like
things of looking towards the future and whatnot.
Right. But this is the episode of we need to take in the present. So the future can't be discussed right now while Yakumo's alive. He's what's important right now. And there's so much in Yakumo that I want to just analyze and such, but I love that the voice acting, the presentation, this whole scene, the fact that she then starts to comb his hair, calling back to the fact that he cut her hair in a very similar even place in the house kind of setup that was back then. It just feels so perfect in a way of coming to get closure. Well, and because even you can feel that the closure isn't fully there, but it's so close.
Even right down to we have Sukeroku performing this particular piece of Rakugo. Yep. Bong, bong.
Yeah.
This episode, it kind of perplexes me because a lot of the Rakugo has a very particular style of how it does the drama, and the drama that isn't dramatic, right? Like the mellow moments that help give weight to the drama, right? Where they're still poignant and pregnant pauses even if you will, but
for sure.
But the thing is that
it's not typical conflict.
It's not typical conflict.
Right.
And even here, when they have these incredibly cathartic moments of cherishing each other's company and everything, it's there isn't as much of a direct question answer, like usually when there's things like this, and there is, because they haven't been able to reconcile their own differences and everything, but it's not as overt or exact, right?
It's a question that we as the audience kind of bring to the table because of past story stuff between the two of them.
Right. It's sort of the wholesome healing of this slice of their lives, right? And yet the fact that they're focusing on this is really interesting because in Rakugo, because the pace of the show is really quick when you think about the actual passage of time, because it's the story of these characters' lives.
Right.
The fact that they're choosing to show this one in particular, like, okay, at the end, there's the whole thing of the, will you take me on as your apprentice, right?
Yeah.
But all the stuff before that doesn't necessarily have a whole lot of relevance to the, will you take me on as your apprentice, right? It's them sort of just enjoying each other's company, and maybe it's them being honest with each other and themselves of how they feel about the other person.
Okay. I have an interpretation on why the Rakugo needed to be there. And I think it's because it's Nozarashi that it actually makes a lot of sense. It's a tie-in to the past with Sukeroku.
Yep.
And the fact that the main thing that they share as a connection point together is in some ways Rakugo, which Sukeroku embodies what Rakugo is symbolically.
And embodied. Yeah.
Well, yeah. But specifically because Yakumo is kind of the main character of the story for the most part. Sukeroku and his persona, and I mean that in the spiritual sense as well. Like the soul of Rakugo is tightly interwoven in the story to Sukeroku. So to have the soul of Rakugo reborn essentially
Yeah.
in Yotaro, giving Nozarashi her favorite Rakugo bit in the moment where she's reconciling with the deathly visage of the past of Rakugo. She's basically saying, in this moment where a chapter in Rakugo's story is dying out, I would like you to give me the opportunity to be the rebirth of your Rakugo.
Sure.
To take what you had that will die out if this doesn't happen, and I would like to carry it forward into the future. I think it's why they had the scene with Hisan and Yotaro in the past, in the previous bit of the episode, is that he's like, the new chapter of Rakugo is thus, and Yotaro's like, no, I'm going to respect Yakumo and basically hold off on that until he passes.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I agree with you, but he won't even really consider it in depth.
Right.
Yeah, he might see some problems immediately just in the fact that it's not...
doesn't pass the sniff test.
It doesn't pass the sniff test. It needs more editing.
Yeah.
It needs more work in the oven.
There's a reason the classics are the classics.
Right, exactly. They went through the ringer multiple times and have evolved over the years.
Yeah.
So I think with this scene, it's that Konatsu brings the burden and the weight of the past to the present here. Yakumo is the dying aspect of the past, going to pass on. And she told... Like Yakumo, I want your Rakugo to be told to Shin-chan. I want my son to hear to hear your Rakugo, and that's something that she wants, not just for the standpoint of him giving the Rakugo, but the actual essence of who he was when he passes, having that be something that is also reborn in her son. Yeah. And I think that that's what he represents, Shin-chan, is that he is the convergence of all the characters into this one hopeful future.
Yep.
All of their things that they brought to the table in the story, he will bear some aspect of it and create, something beautiful from it that none of them could have directly put into his life and what have you.
Yeah.
So it feels very much like she is in some ways embodying the wholesome aspects of the Shinigami. She's basically saying, I will help escort your Rakugo from death to life. Basically escort. Well, no, Shinigami's the other way around, right? Escorting those that are dying to the beyond, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so it's the other way around. She's actually,
But
it's that rebirth thing.
Right. It's a duality. It's the yin and the yang. It's the you don't have one without the other, right? Because one of the reasons why I find it really interesting that Sukeroku specifically is the visage of the Shinigami is not just because of course, because Yakumo is haunted by Sukeroku and his death and everything, right?
Right.
But there's also the idea that Sukeroku represented the life of Rakugo, right?
Yes.
He was almost life
spirit
itself.
Of it. Yep.
Like with the positives and the negatives, right? You know, all the problems and everything, but he was,
it was raw, untapped Rakugo life. Yeah.
Yep. And people could tell that. It was contagious. It swept people up, right?
Absolutely.
And that there are points where he sees Sukeroku that's not the red-eyed Sukeroku, right? It's not the Shinigami. And in this one, it got kind of like, I wasn't sure which one it was, like whether it was Sukeroku or the Shinigami, because the eyes weren't red and all that stuff. But the idea that is an aspect of this process that is natural, right? In that, yes, Yakumo is going to die, and that doesn't have to be a bad thing, but it's on what terms do you meet it, right?
Right.
And in the case of Sukeroku, when he was alive, he met death on the right terms, right? Like even if there were some, there were mistakes and things that he regretted leading up to it, he met it on, like he made the decision, right? He like, even though the exact details of how everything went down are a little bit hazy, right? We know enough. And I would say that's something that makes it very important that he is there, not just because of the personal relation to Yakumo, but what Sukeroku kind of represented.
Okay.
But
I vibe with that. Yeah. It's sad though, just because it took this long for him to accept her as his apprentice, though.
Yeah,
and that's kind of the thing I feel like that embodies the most relatable aspects of Yakumo is his regret. And yet it's very rare that we actually hear him bringing it up so overtly, because it's his burden, it's his pain, it's his suffering, and he seems like the kind of person who's like a cat. When a dog dies, they want to basically go and make sure that their owner is okay. They will try to ignore the pain and act as if I'm okay. Look, I can do everything, until literally they just start lying down more and they don't get up. A cat won't let you see them die. Sure. A cat will just run away one day and you'll be like, what happened? And it's like, well, they know that you cared about them, but they knew that it was their time, so they'll basically just go away and you won't see them again. That's literally what happened to one of my cats. Is just disappeared one day when we knew that she wasn't well. But right,
and that's also almost what happened to Yakumo.
It is
the whole thing with the place burning down. Right. Everyone was gone. Then he went there, by himself, and of course it would have been a blaze of glory, so to speak, and everyone would have known that he died in there. They would have found the
died doing remains or whatever, exactly the way he wanted. Right. But that doesn't consider the feelings of others. That doesn't consider anything about like what more he could do. The idea that maybe he doesn't see his life as being valuable. He sees himself as this wretched thing, as something that just should have died a long time ago. He agrees in some ways even with Konatsu.
Oh yeah.
But no, there's so much more he can give. And I think it's seeing things like Shin-chan tossing the peach blossoms and stuff. Or is it cherry blossoms?
Cherry blossoms.
Tossing the cherry blossoms, and he's just like, oh, okay. That's beautiful. I'm so glad I lived to see that. That's the good feels right there, Rakugo. Well done.
Yep. Even if I did maybe take a lot of good things out of the world with the mistakes that he feels like he's made, with regards to Sukeroku and Miyokichi and everything. All right. I added something good back into it.
I love how also he sees Miyokichi in such a redeemed light, in that he sees even the parts where she brought the, what did he call it, the acidity in the different faces of women specifically. Like, I love that he is grateful for that time. This is something that I have to imagine all of us who come to our end with a feeling of gratitude will see, is that the times that were hard, the times that were painful, and the times that we wish never happened, in some ways we're even grateful for them.
Shadow proves the sunshine.
It was something that was involved with another person, or it built some connection in some way. So,
and in a lot of cases, that's something that he probably realized a long time ago, as far as Miyokichi and everybody. But it's not something that he realized until recently with regards to himself, I would say.
Himself. You think because of all the reconciling his own stuff yet?
With the guilt and the shame and everything, this is at least part of the process, and it seems to be a good step along the way. In that, by acknowledging that amidst all of the complications and all the bad things that happened, and everything, especially since, since we know a bit more of how Miyokichi's final moments were, but the fact that there isn't blame for her, that he's accepting of her as a person, seeing her faults and all those things, that's something that I feel like he hasn't really been willing to do with himself. And that's why he's wanted to die, right? Because he feels like he doesn't have anything tethered here, like that's tethering him here. But also, why did it have to go that way? Couldn't I have done something different, right?
This is something I actually wanted to bring up your thoughts of with regards to that kind of redeeming the past aspect there, because it almost feels like he does kind of tell the truth here. He says, "Why did you kill him? That's a good question. I tried to die with the one, but the other took my place. Then by failing," what does it say? "Then by failing to die, I have carried the sin of that double suicide for the rest of my life."
Yep.
Now, she thinks he murdered them. Double suicide is not murder.
Well, I don't...
Is this the story that he's told and she just doesn't believe it?
Well, I don't think it's that she thinks he murdered them. It's that she thinks he killed them, right? She blames him for their deaths, right? He's responsible.
Okay, you know? but that's different though than him actually physically killing them. So does she already know the truth? This was my theory with regards to this, is that she already knows that he didn't actually kill them.
Yeah.
Okay. You already assumed that.
Yes.
I'm guessing.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So then what I'm thinking here is that he doesn't need to say anything. She just needs to accept that they made their choice.
Sure. And the idea that because
he was involved, yes.
That he was involved.
But he did not kill them.
Yeah,
She can forgive him then. That's my thought.
Yes, I believe so. And I think the complication that's why this story has happened really is because, one, when it happened, she was very young.
Yep.
Right. So that you don't just blot out that, right? Like that doesn't happen. Even though later she might be able to logic it out and be like, okay,
yep,
I know that he didn't actually kill them. I might hold him responsible and that he did have a part to play, you know. But she can't undo all the blame that she's put on him because that makes her feel better, right?
Yeah.
And you know, and of course their relationship is rocky and at the best of times.
Yeah.
So, you know,
this is just the beautiful part of this scene though, is that coming from that, she then goes, oh, so all this suffering would have been different if not for me. And he goes, well, no, thanks to you, I never found time for regret either.
Yep.
And that's
basically the truth right there.
That's the truth.
It doesn't right. And that's why I feel like at this point she might not necessarily need to know what actually happened, because she knows the effect of what happened, even if she doesn't know if she has blacked out the whole idea of her pushing her mom and
yes, right. I don't think she literally remembers that at all.
Right.
Yeah.
And I
agree. Yes.
And I don't think she necessarily needs to know that, because
I agree.
She knows what the effect of whatever happened was, and she's come to terms with that and they've been able to reconcile.
Right. I just think it would be a cool thing at some point to have a Matsuda moment where if he's already died and he didn't say anything, just that he basically did all this for you. He did all of this to make sure that you wouldn't basically have any reason to doubt your parents or to doubt who they were or what have you. That their memory would not be tarnished by anything. He doesn't even need to say that anything regarding what she did in the incident there.
Sure.
But just the idea that he had nothing to do with this in the direct sense, and then she can redeem the memory of him, and thus when she then gives the Rakugo of Yakumo to her son, there's that aspect of, okay, this was a good man. This was someone that was like another father to me, like someone who I can redeem their memory in my mind, in my soul.
And in a lot of ways I feel like she already has.
Okay.
One of the lines that I think is potentially the most important line in this episode is that thanks to you, I never found time for regret either.
Oh yeah.
Because there's the idea of that, you know, he didn't have time to die because he was too busy taking care of her, right?
Yeah, okay. Children require daily upkeep.
Yeah, exactly. That's a lot more sort of matter of fact, and it's an expression of a lack of a negative, not a presence of a positive in my mind.
Okay.
Right? There's an inferred positive potentially there, but so far it's just that I was taking care of you, so I stayed alive, right? And that is a powerful statement. That is a very powerful statement. But the idea that he says that because of you I was too busy to regret either, that's huge.
Yeah.
Because Yakumo has been a man of regrets, right? Like that's been almost his entire identity in season 2, right?
Yep.
So the idea that basically and the part of the thing that made their relationship so unstable is the fact that there was this feeling of you know, regret, blame, reminders, you know, all that stuff, all that stuff sort of wrapped up, but saying that no, I didn't have time to regret, because even with all the ups and downs and rough things after the really bad thing, I wouldn't give it up for anything.
Yeah.
You know, the time that we spent together, as bad as it sometimes was, is that precious to me.
Yeah.
That's huge. That is absolutely ridiculously huge.
And then we get to go into the next episode with the knowledge that this is where they're continuing from. There's still 2 more episodes of story with the potential for relationship resolution from this point.
I would not be surprised if the next episode was basically the process of Yakumo dying.
Yeah.
Like potentially spending the entire episode with him making that trek up the pathway.
I agree.
And then the last episode being the afterwards.
Sure. It ends the second episode. The next episode ends with him dying. I could definitely see that. But y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. Get hyped for the replacement coming up for this, because there's gonna be a poll for that soon. But if you want to see the next episode's reaction discussion right now, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. Any level of support gets you. You can also watch full-length timer reactions there, and any level of support gets you access to our Discord, where you can chat with us and the community there about this show, about anime in general. And you can also talk with Jacob about the sci-fi novel that he wrote.
Yep. You know about it. Battle Lines, sci-fi novel with a character-focused spin on it, and it's really cool. If you haven't gotten it yet, go check it out. It's on Amazon. Link in the description down below. Do it.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.